Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome in again to the most recent edition, the 20th edition of the Brotherly Glove podcast. We are two brothers from Philly talking all things Philly sports. We have seen it all, the best and the worst of the teams, players, and coaches to come through Philly. The ups and downs, the wins and losses, the emotional roller coaster that is being a fan of sports here in Philadelphia. We've watched it and we have covered it all 30 plus years combined in sports media. On today's episode, Team USA is playing in the World Cup today, so we're going to get into that a little bit. Had some great guests on recently. Team USA already in the round of 32. Things are lining up nicely. I was at one of the games over the weekend, Brazil versus Haiti. It was fun. I'll give you the lowdown on what I saw at the link there. But first, we're talking the comeback kids. What a run these Phillies have been on the last 5 days. Harper and Schwarber go absolutely insane Saturday and Sunday. They take the series from the Mets, and then after losing game one down in D.C., 2 games in a row, ninth inning comebacks down to their last strike, 2 victories with a chance to win the series tonight down in D.C. Johnny, how you feeling about these Phils, my man?
We might have to – we joked with the Bundo last week that, we did 20 minutes just kind of – I don't know. Kind of not recognizing where they're placing it. It was all negative talk, it felt like. We recognized it, but it might be time to change that conversation a little bit.
Right, and these boys are giving us all the reason to change that conversation. If you want to join the conversation, if you're seeing us here on YouTube and you want to get it direct to your phones, make sure, like I said, we had a lot of fun guests on. You just mentioned Anthony DeBundo. We had Stanford Steve on from SVP. We had, and College Game Day, of course, can't forget that. We had Paul Carr on talking World Cup. If you want to go back and watch any of those episodes, all of our socials are down below. If you go to any of your podcast app, just search Brotherly Glove to get those conversations. You mentioned it. DeBundo said we talked for 20 minutes about negative things, but these boys are still good. And how good is your good really? Well, these guys, they don't quit. Johnny, 2 nights in a row down to your last strike. Have you ever seen that before?
Not that I remember. I thought I saw somewhere that for the teams have done it. I'm not sure about the last strike, but 2 straight games. It have been 13 years or something for the Phillies since they won 2 straight games trailing entering the 9th inning. But one of them, the first one Tuesday night, was just completely different. Last night, 1-run game, pinch hit home run from the new guy, 10th game with the team. That was cool. But I think that kind of stuff happens sometimes, especially against a team that leads the league in blown saves. But what we saw in that game on Tuesday night, I've never seen anything like that. So they were down, what was it, 3 runs, I think, in the 9th, or 2 runs, whatever it was. But the first 2 guys were out, so they're down. The first 2 guys, 2 outs, nobody on. And like you mentioned, Trey Turner down to his last strike. He gets things rolling, and the next 10 guys reach base, and they scored 8 runs, all with 2 outs. And I don't remember seeing anything like that. And I think maybe it didn't seem as crazy because they weren't down by 8, but they needed all of it, and it was incredible. And the fact that 10 guys, everybody gets a shot. And we talked about Trey Turner and some of his struggles this year, and the fact that he's up in the leadoff spot. It was nice to see him get things rolling. And you heard all the Phillies talking about that. So I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. Have you?
For sure. No, I mean, again, to be dead in the water twice. Jason Stark said that you talk about win probability. In the Phillies' cases, the last 2 games, when Turner came up, when he got to a 1-2 count, the win probability was down to 0.58%. And when Schwarber was 1 and 2, he had a 2.5% chance of winning. That even seems high for being down to your last strike with nobody on base. But when you have a guy like Schwarber and it's a 1-run game, I guess you have a better shot. Give a lot of credit to Schwarber too, man. It scratched 2 nights ago with some back stiffness. Didn't start the game last night. Coming in off the bench, he had to be pinch run for after drawing the walk. But that was a 10-pitch at bat after being down 1-2 in the count. Just an impressive at bat from him that late in the game. And then, like you said, the newcomer with the pinch hit homer, he's hitting 333 since joining the team. I mean, not that I expect that to last, but he's a career 230 hitter. He's hitting 333 since joining the Phillies. They talked about him being kind of an answer to a short-sided platoon, and the fact that he has the ability to play center field. He's gotten a lot of playing time so far, and it was just a lot of fun around the Phillies this last week. And when they're playing like this, it's the dog days of summer. We know how their bats get when they're hot. It really gives you hope for what could be a potential playoff run in October.
Yeah, and I think this all started with a game you were at. We talked to you mentioned Stanford Steve last week, and we talked about Mets Phillies, how they've kind of gone in different directions after slow starts for each team. And he said, that the Phillies are gonna be there, and it looks that way. So we talked to him before game one on Thursday. Mets win game one. Then they have the off day Friday, odd setup for this series. They come out Saturday and it was like you were there. It was just a slugfest from the start. We'll get into how crazy it was and some of the stuff I saw out there on SportsCenter after the game, but you were there. Can you tell us what it was like?
Yeah, it felt like bananas in there from almost the jump. Fans were a little excited at first, and then it just keeps tacking on. And when you have a guy coming up, and the inning took so long where Schwarber hit the 2 home runs that we all looked at each other like, was that was the same? That was the same inning, wasn't it? Because you're getting wrapped up in conversation. I went down with my son and our dad, and I took another friend of mine down. So you're getting a little lost in the conversation. And you're like, I don't think I've seen them. Yeah, that was the same inning. Oh my God, that was insane. And the crowd went from there's a couple season ticket holders near our seats who they're diehards. They're older crowd, and they just like to get grumpy. Any typical dad or grandfather thing you would think a Phillies fan would say, that's them in this row. And even they had huge smiles on their face halfway through that third inning, and they never went away through the entire game. And to see a game like that turns into such a blowout, but everybody wants to stay, to see what's going to happen next. It was just a blast. Chase, my son, he posted a pic on Instagram, and then he told me afterwards, he's like, I know we went to a World Series game. He's like, that's the best game I've ever been to.
That's awesome.
And makes me feel good that it was my Father's Day gift was my wife was like, or part of my gift was my wife said, hey, you go with just the guys, I'll stay home with the kids, and to go and have that kind of game with my dad, with my son. It was just an awesome moment.
Yeah. It's cool to hear a kid say that and to be engaged and be into that. Obviously not hard once you know what happened, but it's funny how it was I don't want to say a slow start, but it was cool. Harper hits the solo homer in the first. Then the bottom of the order gets in there, and Real Muto and Crawford both have RBI doubles in the second. And then 8 runs in the third, including the 2 Schwarber homers. What else happened in that inning? Marsh had an infield single with guys on base. Real Muto had another double. Trey Turner got involved and hit a single right before Schwarber homer again. And meanwhile, I wasn't noticing it because of the 2 home runs in the inning and the score. Once Schwarber homered, it was 11-0. And Christopher Sanchez was on the mound, which seemed like this thing's over. And I didn't realize that Bryce Harper was within reach of a cycle until he came up in the 5th inning, only needing a triple, and hit a triple.
Right.
And hitting for the cycle is kind of a random thing, right? Some of the names we've seen do it, and Trey Turner's done it 3 times. I know he was close recently. It's just kind of funny who ends up doing it. And obviously there's a lot of skill involved to be able to do that, but it does seem like just kind of a random kind of occurrence to get all 4 kinds of hits at the same time. Got to be on, got to have facing the right pitchers, all that stuff. But to get it done by the 5th inning, it was crazy. And just the whole thing, I wasn't at the game, but the whole, watching with other people, it was just, I don't know. It felt like a different viewing experience. And I think, we mentioned at the top and joked with Anthony DeBundo when he was on about, hey, this is a team that has been playing really well, putting up good numbers, moving up in the standings. And we spend a lot of time talking about the things that aren't going well, which, look, we get it. There's both. And that stuff's important because as it gets closer to deadline, we hope that they make some moves. But it just reminded me, this is why you're a fan of sports and why you're a fan of games and why you're a fan of certain teams. And it's the part to just kind of lose yourself in it. And it was cool that I mentioned it, but SportsCenter after the game really really went big on this. And the post game on Fox, they had Schwarber and Harper out there on the desk on the field together, and it felt big. And it's two big market teams. Phillies and Mets have both had success recently, and they've got really big name players on both sides, so it makes sense. But it just felt different, and of course, it feels that way when it's your team. Your team wins. If the Mets did that to the Phillies, I probably wouldn't be saying the same thing. But it was just cool because we can do all the analysis. We can fret over the lineups and talk about who they should go out and get and all these different things. But that was just fun, man. That's why we have season ticket packages to the Phillies. And it's why, you and I and all of our friends and family, we talk about this stuff all the time, and why we ended up, trying to do something like this to just get this stuff out. And I just thought that was such a cool way to watch a game when we're all, I think, so accustomed to breaking everything down and trying to figure out all the things that aren't working so we can be the smart ones that, that have the right fix,
Right. That's why I enjoy going with family, and you want to be focused, but you're not as focused. It's not, oh man, I need to do a write-up on this, or I need to analyze this tomorrow. It's just fun. And like I said, you almost didn't realize that 2 homers were hit in 1 inning until you really thought about it. The cycle, I was excited because I knew when the ball was hit, I was like, he's not slowing down getting a second. He's going. And then as soon as he slides in safe to third, Chase goes, it's a cycle. He hit the cycle. I was like, when did he hit a single? Like, I knew about the homer. I knew about the double. I had no idea he was ready to go. And it just, because there was so much happening that there wasn't one thing to focus on. Like you said, I was most excited about Sanchez going into that game and being able to watch him pitch.
Yeah.
That my friend Molino, who came with us, first thing he said, he was like, Saturday Sanchez is pitching, I'm in. He's like, I'll figure it out. I was like, all right, cool. So you're talking about, like, that wasn't anywhere near the forefront of your mind, and just to be able to sit back and relax and enjoy it. It's kind of how I was in the building when Weston Wilson, who's the last Philly to hit the cycle, and I was covering it, but you felt it in the press box. Both teams were like, this is, excuse me, this is just fun, right? Like this isn't something you get to see all the time. And our friend Tim Kirchin says it best all the time. He's like, I love this game. And Jason Stark says it. He's like, I love this game because it's been around for 120 years, and there's a chance you'll see something you've almost never seen before at the ballpark. Yeah. And it didn't stop in Philadelphia, John. The momentum and the craziness followed them down to D.C. So what did we see during the midweek games?
Well, wait, I wanted to keep talking about that.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
That stuff. So like you said, I've heard Tim say this, that you have a chance to see something you've never seen before. And apparently that's what happened on Saturday. There has never been a game where a team had a player hit for the cycle and a player hit 2 home runs in the same inning ever in the history of baseball. And
there you go.
You don't want to say that's not surprising, but now that it's been 125, 130 some, whatever, 145 years of Major League Baseball, random stuff happens now and then. I find that it seems harder to come across those things where something that is digestible has never happened before. Right. You can find however many combinations of random things you can put together to get there, but that had never happened before in Major League history. And the other cool note I saw off that was about the 2 homers in an inning. It only one other time had a team had a player hit for the cycle and a player hit 3 home runs in the same game. And that was the 1932 Yankees and Lou Gehrig in a 4-homer game. They're doing stuff that had either never been done or only Lou Gehrig had been involved in. That's wild. And, it's cool to end up at a game like that. Like you said, you can look at the starting pitchers. You can look at team matchups and go, I would really love to be there for that. There's no way to pick a game and expect something like that to happen. It did. It seemed like a party in the stadium too. Like when Harper got to third base on that triple, and the way he threw his arms up and everybody was going crazy, and like there was a great camera shot, not intentional, but just wherever they were taking him from behind, like from the third baseline, and him with his arms up, and you see all the people going nuts behind him. Like it was really cool. And like we said, even though a cycle is kind of a random occurrence and a whole bunch of really good players and a whole bunch of nondescript players have done it, it's got to be cool to be there, and it's just kind of a fun thing to keep track of. And like I said, I didn't even realize it, or I would have been interested. And just the idea that we talk about Harper meeting moments before, and not that you can just go up there and decide to do that, right? Because a ton of players have been one hit shy of a cycle and not been able to do it. But especially to get the hardest one, I think most guys are the hardest one away. Like they usually fall short without a triple, and to come up there and hit a ball, it's not batting practice. To hit a ball in a spot and give yourself a chance to get one. And when he, busted out of the box, he gives himself a chance. It was just really cool. And to see that how rare that kind of stuff was really fun. And I mentioned the interview afterwards. You probably didn't see it because you guys were at the game, but they talked to Chris Myers and Dontrell Willis after the game. And Harper it's funny, the cycle, I forget which one's more rare. I mean, the cycle's been done a bunch, but 3-homer game, it's not whatever, there have been 12 4-homer games. I'm not really sure, and we were debating what's like more impressive or what's more random or what's more rare. Like, is it, 3 homers, not everybody can do that, but it's just kind of the one thing. You just got to do it a couple times to be able to do all the other stuff. It was a fun debate that people were having where I was watching the game. But Harper talked about Schwarber like he was in all of them while they were standing next to each other on the desk doing the interview. It was really cool, and to see guys just enjoying this, I just thought that was awesome because they were clearly enjoying being involved in it too, as much as all the fans seemingly at the ballpark and watching it on TV were enjoying it. So it was awesome, and of course it was great to even up the series with the Mets with a 15-3 win.
Right. And I loved hearing Schwarber talk afterwards. He said that he was sitting there with coaches after before Harper came up for the triple, and they were talking about now where would he have to hit it? Where would he have to hit it to get? It's like they were. Now you're not going to talk up like that all the time, but when the game's already out of hand as it was, It's like, hey, let's see something cool happen. And it's cool to see that history recognized, like you said, already a national game. You talked about whoever found those never happened and once happened before things for SportsCenter. That guy needs a raise. Just smart people out there covering this game, and we're trying to bring some light to that too. So.
Yeah.
And then you were right. I jumped way too far ahead. The fireworks in Philly didn't end on Saturday. They continued into Sunday, another national game, Sunday Night Baseball, and both Harper and Schwarber go nuts again, this time with Zach Wheeler on the mound. Take us through that one. Just an incredible ending to a fun series.
Yeah, well, it's awesome. They lose game one and they come back with Sanchez and Wheeler and they end up winning the series. And Wheeler was good again. So to have him on the mound to try and close it out is great. It was on Sunday Night Baseball, and I think I saw quickly. I didn't read it, but I think I saw the headline. It was the most watched Sunday Night Baseball game in 10 years. Now that could have something to do with there's new ways they're doing ratings and stuff. We're not boring anybody with that, but whether it's the most or whether it's inflated or whatever, a bunch of people were watching the game. I think that's pretty cool. But Schwarber and Harper both homered on Sunday night, and then I figured it out. I forget what the number was. I figured it out the night before, but Schwarber raised his slugging percentage 50 points in 2 nights or something. I think on Saturday alone, he went from 10th in the majors to 5th in slugging.
Jeez.
And then the two of them combined just in 2 games, they had more home runs than outs. They were 12 for 17 combined in the 2 games. They hit 6 home runs and made 5 outs.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and that comes after, like we said, we were talking to a couple of people about, we highlighted the Phillies' struggles and the things we didn't like, and they come out and bash the ball all over the place. And of course, those guys put up big numbers, but other people were still doing stuff to contribute to that. And I think that's part of the bigger conversation is that some of the things we weren't seeing earlier, I was hesitant because it was here and there, or it was people were just starting. Numbers are starting to change a little bit. I mean, it certainly seems now some players are playing a little bit differently, and I think that's contributing to this. I mean, we even joked, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think, when we were planning what we were going to talk, and you said we should talk about the offense doing better, and I was like, is it? And
right.
And I know I was intimating, slow down, man. They scored 5 runs yesterday, cool. But I was wrong. They had done it for almost a week, and it seems to have continued since then. So. They took that down into DC, and they lost on Monday. I'm trying to figure. It's funny. I don't even remember Monday now. They lost actually a game in between all this. But I'm pulling it up now. So they had they had their opener and Meza threw an inning, and
Rangel looked pretty good.
Yeah. Brandon Marsh, and it's kind of, there's no expectations there. Like this is, and I'm not just blowing it off for that reason. I think one thing that did give me a little concern was they faced a left-handed starter who carved them up.
Right.
But Brandon Marsh homered, and man, if that's not one of the guys that is contributed, like he's just been incredible. And I think we need to do a whole episode on Brandon Marsh. But he's been great, and so that you can kind of chalk it up to they played the night before, they had to travel. They're going with an opener, and a guy who hadn't pitched in the major leagues yet this year is the major guy coming in to piggyback. Like whatever, Marsh gets a home run, they get quieted a little bit, but then Tuesday night happens. I have to pull up the box score to remind myself what happened here. But you were watching that game, right?
Tuesday night.
Yeah.
So I tuned in the 8th inning as they started their comeback, and just again, it felt like not inevitable, because you never feel like it's going to be inevitable that you come back, but it felt like they're showing these guys on the telecast. You're like, they don't think it's over. Like, why should I? They don't think this game is over. They know that they can come back, and the way that they're playing, why shouldn't I believe that they could come back? So they get the 3 runs in the 8th, and you're feeling pretty good. And then Washington responds and scores 3 right back. And, again, classic Delco dad move, just like, come on. You can't score and surrender it right back.
Yep.
Boom. What do? They respond 8 in the 9th, an insane outing. Let's see. I just want to take people through that 9th inning. We can talk about what led up to it and everything too, because it was a great, the final score of 14-9 doesn't show how much of a back and forth affair it was. But excuse me.
As you're looking for that, they fell behind 5-0 before they even got
right.
That was in the 4th inning. They were down 5-0, and then guy who had a huge game, who kind of went under the radar, Edmundo Sosa. He got the scoring started with a home run, which cracked me up. So he hit the home run at 406 feet, and then did you see his double in the 9th after they had already taken the lead? Marsh, you'll go through it, but they had taken the lead and he added on. He hit one off the top of the fence. His double went farther than his home run.
Yeah, I saw that.
And he had an RBI fielder's choice. He had a huge night. And we talk all the time about the platoon and stuff. And I remember you and I talking how it's not necessarily about someone wanting to bench someone against a lefty. It's wanting to have a guy like Sosa get at bats against lefties, because when he's on, he really can do damage, and he did that, and that was a big part of. He got the scoring started with a 2-run homer, and it really kind of allowed them to do the stuff they did.
Yeah, it's a team that's confident, right? They know what they can do when they're on, and right now they're on, and they also know that the weakest point of this surprise Nationals team is their bullpen.
Yeah,
they don't really have anybody who can shut anybody down. So even though you go down 2 outs. Sosa strikes out, Crawford strikes out, Turner comes back up. He's 1-2 and rips a single on a pitch up middle. Takes second base. Marsh homers again. So you talked about the homer already. He homers again to tie it. So you're thinking 2 out, 2 outs. They tied it. All right, that's great. You're feeling good. Well, Harper singles, and then Derek Hill pinch hits and he singles, and then Bryson Stott's homers with a classic stare down the line to make sure it hugs the line. Then you still think, oh man, okay, maybe the emotion is out of the air. No, Real Muto walks, and Rincones Jr. singles, and Sosa hits the double you talked about and throws his 2 hands in the air. Crawford walks, Turner comes up again and singles again, and then Marsh finishes it off. They even had a pitcher in the batting order at some point. I mean, they never came up to bat, but moving enough pieces around, and it was just, again, making the right moves, and more importantly, the guys coming through. It's when we talked all about how Trey Turner's struggles have hampered this offense, and he comes up and singles twice in the 9th inning, once with the game on the line and nobody out. You know that things are going well when the guy who struggled to get on base all season is doing that in a big moment.
Yeah. It was crazy. And so what was the thing I saw? After the game, it was like the Phillies, at least in the last 50 or 60 years, had never had a game where they were trailing entering the 9th. The first 2 batters recorded an out, and then and then they left with I forget exactly. Maybe it was. I mean, I forget if it was as specific as because they had 10 straight guys reach base. I think that's what I saw was they had not in however long, like 60 years or something, had not had going into the ninth trailing. First two guys go down, and then 10 straight batters reach base and leave the ninth with a lead. And it was kind of funny that like it felt like it happened quick. I was kind of resigned to, they caught up. They had the great, game of inches type play where Real Muto lined that ball to right field and James Wood. Well, first of all, go back a pitch or two before that. Were you watching at that point when Real Muto tied the game?
What the hit that Wood couldn't come up with? Yeah.
Well, I don't know if people even remember at this point because the ninth inning was so crazy, but he had a foul ball that was close to the stands that Wood missed by inches, or he was over there. And I know those plays are hard. I'm not saying he should have had it, but when it went up and I saw Wood get over there, I thought he was going to catch it and that was going to end the inning, and he didn't come up with it. Good luck for the Phillies. And then Real Muto hits that sinking liner that not only does he almost catch and can't come up with, but then he kind of kicks the other way and allows the third run to score. It was wild. So like, I just think it was, I didn't realize. So once they did that, and then the Nats came back and hit the home run, I was kind of like close to ending up my night. And I think I had the game on mute at that point. I just kind of walked into that room, do something, and came back. And I looked up and I was like, oh, they tied it. And then walked in. Like, that's how fast it happened, that they already had two more guys on base and Stott hit the home run. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I feel like my excitement was actually muted, no pun intended, because I had it muted. Like,
right.
And it looked, and I didn't realize, I thought it looked fair. Of course, Homer, you want it to be fair, but like, if I would have heard McCarthy, I probably would have been losing it. But I had it on mute and was like, I hope it's fair. And then, they pan back down and Stott's running the bases. And I was like, all right. And it was just crazy how quick it seemed to happen when I kind of resigned myself to, not in a mad way, just like, hey, that would have been a crazy comeback. They almost did it, but they gave up a home run, and it's not to be tonight. But to score 8 runs in that kind of fashion, it was nuts. And to have 10 straight guys reach base, like, yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen a game like that. And it seemed to completely take me by surprise.
Well, according to Elias, the Phillies produced the third most 2-out runs by any team in the ninth inning since the expansion era in 1961. Most ninth inning 2-out runs for any Phillies team in a game.
Yeah.
So pretty exciting. Pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. They had that on, I think they told Bryson Stott that in the post-game interview, and they ran the graphic that it was the most 2-out runs they've ever scored in the ninth inning of a game in franchise history, which is wild. I didn't even know for a team that started playing in 1883, I didn't even know you could look that up.
And the funny, a little bit of history with the Nationals. The last time Phillies scored 7 or more runs in the ninth inning, also against the Nationals, Bryce Harper was a member of the Nationals for that game. And that was the infamous dugout brawl between him and teammate Jonathan Papelbon, also on former Phil. I don't know if I don't believe those two things were related, but I know that it was related to hustle. I don't think they were fighting each other over the Phillies putting up 7 runs in the 9th.
Trey Turner was also on that Nationals team.
Oh, yes, he was. Wow. Schwarber just missed them.
Yeah, both those guys were involved. Harper scored on Stott's homer, and Turner scored on Marsh's home run.
Right.
Harper scored on Stott's home run to take the lead, and Turner ended up with the final RBI, driving in somebody for their 14th run. That was wild. And if it's one of those things where this is talked about a lot, especially with analytics and all the resources out there, that like you can't quantify. People even argue whether momentum's a real thing or not. You can't quantify momentum, even if it is. You also can't quantify, the catch-all term of vibes. But sports, and especially baseball, are a very, I want to say, like, there's a lot on the mental portion of it, and it's a very, I don't know it's a very confident kind of game. Like confidence can do a lot one way or another in a really long baseball season. And I don't know, this team just seems to, I'm not saying they're going to keep doing this all the time, but when you're feeling good, and especially when you're playing a team that you're better than, I think that's the recipe for things like that to happen. And right now it just seems like not to be cliche, but it seems like the vibes are good. And I think that's it. It's not just, hey, this team can come back or whatever. We've talked about the guys who struggled at the beginning of the year, and things look different for a couple guys right now. And I think that's part of it. It's a huge part of it.
And again, not to overshadow, because it's kind of a mixed bag of results, but Luzardo was pretty good in that game. And when he got some guys on, that's when the runs piled up. So he goes 6 2/3, ties a career high with 13 strikeouts, but it also allows 5 earned runs without giving up an extra base hit. I don't know when the last time that's happened, but didn't give up a single extra base hit, allowed 5 earned runs, and still, because he was pitching well enough outside of those little chunks of runs, he struck out 65% of the guys he got out. Like that's it's pretty impressive. And again, the 5 runs, that feels like an easy bad luck loss, and instead the team comes up and just rallies big for their guy who went out and shoved for the most part to get the victory.
I didn't look at the extra base hit part, but the one thing I did look at, just the combination of runs, walks, and strikeouts. Like the way I think about it, if you're striking out that many people, you're probably not doing one or both of the other things. Or if you're allowing 5 runs and walking 3 hitters, you're probably not also striking out 13. He's only the 5th guy to allow 5 runs, walk 3 hitters, and strike out 13 hitters in the same game in the last 50 years. He's the first guy to do it in 27 years.
Wow.
Since Randy Johnson. In the last 50 years, the only guys, it's Nolan Ryan. Steve Carlton did it twice. So now Phillies pitchers have done it 3 times in that span. Bobby Witt Sr., not Bobby Witt Jr., the Royals shortstop, and Randy Johnson in 1999. And it was just, that got forgotten. Like, I looked that up when Luzardo came out of the game. I was like, I can't believe this line. And you saw a bunch of stuff flying around on Twitter that people were looking up and sending out. And I almost forgot about that part because of the way that game ended. It was wild, and we talked about it before. To kind of bring 2 things together, you mentioned Tim Kirkshan and some of the stuff he says. One of the things I really like is he talks about, and he tries to identify them when it happens. He says at the end of the season, especially for a team that has success, you're going to look back and there's a couple games that he calls them circle games that you would circle on the schedule or circle on the calendar that had a big impact. Sometimes those are in the right direction for your team. Sometimes they're in the wrong direction. Now, a lot of times it ends up being a big blown lead or a big comeback. I mean, that's almost like an obvious one, right? When you should have lost a game and you do something that, might not have ever been done. That's an easy one to circle. But like, especially when, you've got Luzardo, who's been a little hot and cold, and he's obviously got stuff working with the 13 strikeouts, but he's also given up walks and runs. And to be able to get out of that and have that be a footnote is kind of crazy. And to have so many different people contribute, and maybe some confidence is being established here. I think that's a big circle game. But I also, going back to Saturday, that wasn't a big comeback. Right. To me, that's a big circle game too. Like, being in a series with a team you should put away. Like, I think we would have all been excited about Phillies Mets before the season. Mets are not really holding up their end of the bargain, which is great. If the Phillies want to, if the Phillies want to push them around, that's great. But they lose game 1, have the day off, and you come back and to put that performance up, especially with, like we said, Sanchez and Wheeler, you're still lined up to win the series, and they do it. And if Schwarber and Harper are going to be like superstars like this, it's a different way to look at this team than the way we've been talking about it. And that just, there's a different feeling and a different vibe around this. I think that's 2 circle games. And I mean, you could even say it last night, like a more standard or pedestrian type of comeback win.
Right.
But we know they're struggling in the outfield, and they go and make this move and grab this guy from the White Sox who's not putting up great numbers, but they just don't have many options. And for him to come through in a big spot like that, you saw the excitement on his face.
Oh yeah.
It was just that might be 3 or 4 circle games in a 5-game span. And I think we're going to look back on this stretch at the end of the season and say, wherever the Phillies end up, that this had a lot to do with them being on that trajectory.
Well, that's right, man. It really has been an impressive week, an impressive run ever since Mattingly took over. But this really feels like a game changer for them as far as momentum. Like you said, momentum is there's no true way to quantify it, but 35-17 since Mattingly took over. They're only a half a game behind the Brewers in that stretch, who were 35-16 over that time. That's 109 win pace over a full season. That's even better than when Rob Thompson took over in 2022. He had an incredible, I think he was on like 101 or 102 win pace from that moment until the end of the season. And all of a sudden, like we're in the middle of a race. We talked about it. So let's take, before we hop into the NL standings, appreciate you guys listening. Make sure you check us out. Leave a comment, rate, and review wherever you can. We're available all over social media, posting our clips on X at Bro Glove Podcast. You can find us on YouTube if you're listening to audio. Search for Brotherly Glove. If you search your podcast app for Brotherly Glove, we're also available on Instagram at Brotherly Glove Pod as well. Excuse me, Brotherly Glove Podcast on Instagram. We've had some great episodes recently. We talked about it already, but we had Stanford Steve from College Game Day and Sports Center with Scott Van Pelt on. He's also the co-host of the SV Pod. He's a big Mets fan. He told us, when you look at this team, you know that the Phillies are coming. He didn't feel as confident due to injuries and maybe some off the field issues with the Mets that they were going to rebound. He was excited for this series, and we talked about it. The Phillies are coming, and he was so right because this week just meant so much to them. We also talked to Anthony DeBundo, Tony Buns from the Ringer Special podcast. He was on with us as well. Philly Special, excuse me. The Ringer Philly Special podcast. He was on talking Phils as well. We got, if you want to talk about some pitching struggles, go listen to that one. But we're riding high right now, talking about the vibes. And like we said, they are extremely hot at the moment. So all of a sudden, a NL East race, how hot the Braves were, how poorly the Phillies started, it felt like it was out of reach. Everybody pretty early started talking about this is a wild card team because they have to be, because look at the lead that the Phillies built up. And all of a sudden, Johnny, they're right back in the thick of things.
Yeah. And so we know the three guys who should be all-stars have been great as usual. We talked about what Schwarber and Harper did over the weekend. Brandon Marsh has been great. But some guys, it's more than just a little rebound at this point. Bryson Stott, he's not Brandon. Before we can combine two guys like that. But Bryson Stott has an 844 OPS this month, and his season OPS just crossed over 700. So that's not a milestone or anything you're shooting for, but like his OPS hasn't looked like that in a while. This is a slow, steady climb. He's batting over 300 this month. Alec Boehm is slugging over 400. His OPS is 724 this month. Those aren't great numbers, but for a guy who started the way he did, his season OPS 639. Again, pretty low, but I'm trying to pull up his splits for the season and really where he started. He was 426 in March and April, 479 in May, 423 in June. So numbers a little bit down from June, but if that's kind of normalized and that can be his thing. Let me see what he's been in those 2 months combined. So since the start of May, Boehm is 772, not that far behind Bryce. Like if he has a 772. If he had a 772 season OPS right now, we'd be feeling a lot different about things. So it was a very slow start. We saw things that were concerning, and it seems like those guys, I'm not saying they're going to do this for the rest of the year, but this is at least a month of this kind of performance right now. And whether they did something different, have figured something out, or just kind of they shook off the bad start and that confidence is starting to take root, this is a team to be reckoned with. And that pace, they're on 109. They're doing this for now 2 months. You know, it's not everything. Teams have been on paces like that before, but this is a real thing. And the other thing I wanted to look up, which I'll try and do. I know last time I was talking about their record by pitchers, where it was really good with Wheeler and Sanchez, and not that good by any other pitcher. But if you look at them, let's look at it from the other angle. To me, if you take, hang on. Thought I had it, but hit the wrong button. But so let me see. They're 9-2 when Wheeler starts, 11-5 when Sanchez starts. I think they've been on a little run in Luzardo starts, and even Nola. They're 9-7 when Nola starts, but I think they were like 1-4 or 1-5 in his first couple. But if you look at it from the other angle, they're 4-12 when Painter and Taijuan Walker start. That means they're 40-24 when anybody else starts, and we would take that record. We know every team you have to have a fifth starter, but I also think we said it in the season preview pod too that I'm worried that we're spoiled how good and deep their starting rotation has been. Like I think a lot of teams, this is not only what their fifth starters look like. This is four starters. Like the Phillies really haven't had to deal with that for a while, and even if we have this Aaron Nola, which we talked to DeBundo about it, is this who he is now? I think you posed that question expertly, but like without, I think I don't want to say you should expect it, but I think this is what a lot of teams deal with their fifth starter, and especially with injuries. And if you're not settled on who it's going to be, and you're moving people in and out, and different people are getting those starts over the course of the season. I mean, if you take that out, the Phillies are pretty nicely lined up with the four guys who are likely to make playoff starts if they get that far. Last time I was talking about it from the one end that they're only good when these guys put everybody else, but I'm starting to come around to the other side that outside of that, they're doing a lot of things well. And even with some guys out and some, bullpen relievers are not going to be perfect, right? Alvarado is that we know that Duran had his first blown save recently. Kerkering, unfortunately, giving up the home run after they start making the comeback, and they wiped that out anyway.
Walks away with the win in that one, by the way.
Yeah, that's the kind of cool stuff. Like these guys talk about wanting to pick each other up, and they all know no one can be perfect, right? Hitters, pitchers, vice versa. Looking within your group and on the other group. There's something feels really good about this, and the results are showing. And yeah, I'm ready to start talking about this team a little bit differently right now.
Yeah, the question that we've been posing at least once a month, if not once every few weeks, is this team good? Yeah. And when you're playing like this, it's not even worth bringing up the question because it's very obvious to everybody. And I would imagine that anybody, I don't care how good you're playing, if they are looking ahead on their schedule and they see this team coming, they're a little worried about it.
For sure.
Especially if you have to face two of those top three starters.
Yeah. And you're going to get nights like that from Luzardo. Yeah, this is going to be a tough team to beat. I mean, the Phillies, I'm looking at this. I hadn't thought about this I hadn't noticed this until just now. Starting on Saturday, May 23rd, however, I mean, that's a little over exactly a month. They have only lost consecutive games once.
Wow.
Yeah. So, they lost 3 straight. The final 2 games against Cincinnati and the first one against Cleveland. Then they won the middle game of that series, lost the next. But starting with that game 2 of that Cleveland series, Saturday, May 23rd, they have only lost consecutive games once. They lost the last game of the Marlins series last week and the first game of the Mets series. And then we talked all about what they've done since losing game 1 against the Mets. Wow. I wish I didn't surprise myself with that. I wish I knew that before, but that's pretty awesome. And you're right that I don't think it would be disingenuous to ask that question now. We have to talk about them being good until they give us a reason not to.
Right. I mean, for how tough they started, there's only 4 teams with a better record than them in Major League Baseball right now. Yep. So you want to talk about good teams, and they're proving that they are one. Obviously, if you want to be a contrarian, you'll say, well, let's see how they always look good in June. Let's see how the bats look in October. And you're right. They may need to make another move, right? But I'm a big proponent of enjoy it while it's happening, not look forward to something and assume that it's going to go poorly, right? And I'm enjoying Phillies baseball right now, not something that was easily said in April.
Yeah, I agree with you. And yeah, you have to strike the right balance of those things. Like, yeah, you want to enjoy it, but in the big picture, especially for a team with 4 straight playoff appearances, a very expensive and very veteran-heavy roster, we know that it's still going to come down to we all talk about the window. How long is the window open? How much longer is it going to be open? When you see a guy like Nola starting to struggle, where does that fit in when he's got he's going to be here for a while. You hope this doesn't happen with other guys. And I think that was the cool thing we talked about at the beginning of the year too, is I think if anyone predicted this not going well for the Phillies, they would probably have predicted that the old guys would start being on the downside. And that's not what's happening here,
Right.
It was guys like Stoughton and Bohm at the beginning of the season struggling. They've picked it back up. If Schwarber and Harper are going to be doing what they're doing right now, this is going to be a really good team with, you're right. Of course, that's going to be how this is judged ultimately, but being a fan of this stuff is fun. And I think being a fan right now, like this is going to be a great way to go into All-Star Week being in Philadelphia.
Definitely. Should have quite a few All-Stars. You mentioned Bryson Stott is now the number 2 vote getter behind Ozzie Albies at second base, so he has a shot, not to mention the pitchers that are all pitching well, but I think there's a good shot you see Harper, Schwarber, Marsh, maybe even Stott in that game. Who would have thought the 4 lefties making it, 2 guys who were in a platoon at the end of last season, really just showing up and showing out. Another nice undercurrent, last thing I wanted to touch on the Phillies, but a guy, Sean Nestor, who writes for Metro Philadelphia, wrote a nice piece that just got me thinking about the 2 guys who are performing well. We talked about them. They got everything started on Saturday. Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber, there's a chance with both of their prolific play that both men could reach 400 home runs this season. Now, Bryce Harper, a little bit easier path. Easy is not the right word. He'd still have to hit 37 homers on the season, but he's sitting at 380 right now, 20 away. Now, 37 homers would be the most he's had in a season since he won the MVP in 2015 when he hit 42. He hasn't hit 30 homers since 2024. Last time he hit 35 homers was 2021. So got a little bit of a stretch to get there, but he could get there if he keeps playing the way he's playing right now. He's on a great pace. Schwarber, he's on a 61 home run pace at the moment. We know he was on a 63 home run pace at some point last season, finished shy of that goal at 56. But if he were to hit 31 more home runs, he would reach 400 for his career. So 2 guys, prolific power, guys who everybody wanted to talk about. Will you regret these contracts potentially getting old? And both guys could be adding another chapter to their Hall of Fame case by season's end if everything goes well. And obviously that would be huge for the Phillies as a whole.
If he gets to 400, he would pass 29 guys on the all-time home run list.
Oh man.
Just from now, not all season.
Right. That's crazy.
He would go from tied for 88th to 60th.
That's crazy.
Which seems, I don't know. When you said that and I heard that number, but I guess he's on the pace to do that. It'd be really close. So that would be quite a watch to see like what season number he could get to, and to see if he can hit number 400 before the end of the year.
That would be awesome.
This has been great, and if they can, I don't know. I feel like honestly the way this has gone, I feel like a draw in this series would be a win. I think they've already kind of won this 4-game series with those comebacks. So whatever happens tonight, if they can win the series against the Mets, so they're in good shape. And schedule wise, we talked about the other day, they've got, after the Mets, it's Pirates, Royals, Reds, and Tigers going into the break. A bunch of road games to let them get ready for the All-Star game. But that's not a bad stretch going into the break, and they've got a pretty tough one coming out. So I'd like to see this momentum keep up. They come out, host the Mets, host the Dodgers, host the Yankees in a 9-game homestand right out of the break. So I think they need this to keep this up going into the break, get themselves a rest, because I think those guys are going to be busy. We know what it's like when you're kind of unofficial hosts. So we're going to have a bunch of guys playing in the game. I'm sure a bunch of guys are going to be around and involved in things. So I think they need to keep this going into the break so they can come out and not get swallowed up by that schedule.
Right. Another All-Star, Don Mattingly, named as an honorary coach by Dave Roberts officially today. There was a Bob Nightingale report about a month ago that said that was likely to happen, but nothing was made official. So the official report came out today. So Donnie Baseball will be there regardless. So that's fun. Another Philly connection for us.
That's cool. The guy he took over for in Los Angeles.
Right. That's right.
All right. Yeah. This this has been really fun in so many different ways. Like just stuff you can't plan on seeing. I just the absolute rarity of what we've seen just in the 2 games, plus the fun of the other ones. I mean, what a stretch right now! And it sounds goofy and cliche, but this is why we love sports. And this is why we do stuff like this. So can't wait to keep watching as they head into the break.
Yeah, and you know how much fun we just had talking about all that? I mean, we didn't even do crazy breakdowns like we normally might. No researcher extraordinaire stuff. No long soliloquies about things that we've seen down at the ballpark. It was just fun. And that's, like you said, that's why we do this. And that's why a lot of fans tune into stuff like this. And I'm not going to stay on this long, but if you listen to one of the radio stations this week and follow their social media, they somehow tried to turn the positivity of Saturday into a negative. We're not going to do that here. I'm not going to name anybody because I don't want to get blocked. Like a lot of people are getting blocked just for bringing up someone's name. But just as a reminder to the fans out there, if you are listening to this, expect to hear more of this. I know we talked about having some negative discussions, but we had honest discussions with Anthony DeBundo when he was on. And we're going to be honest about our emotions and our feelings here on this podcast regularly. And we're going to be a place that celebrates Philly sports just as much as we talk about it or maybe analyze it, right? That's what we're here to do. Talk about it, support it, and brother to brother. I mean, we got into it because I watched you play sports growing up and I fell in love with sports. Yeah, I'm a reporter. I want to analyze it. I want to be looked at as a professional and unbiased in certain occasions. But at the end of the day, it's about loving the sport and having fun watching a child's game played by millionaires. Yeah. And if you think that a guy stretching a single into a double or a double into a triple is something to complain about, kick rocks. I don't want to hear you anymore. Another thing that you will not hear on a lot of the radio stations is World Cup talk. Our guy Sean Brace talks about it all the time on the Middays with Mark show over on 97.5, but you're not going to hear a lot of it out there. So you might as well search for Brotherly Glove on your podcast apps because we've had great guests recently. World Cup in full swing. Paul Carr came on with us 2 weeks ago from Yahoo Sports. He told us if Flo Balogun was scoring goals, then Team USA would have success. Boy, was he right. We've seen it. Flo, USA has tons of flow, John. And then last week we had Tony Buns on from The Ringer. He gave us a great breakdown of Team USA and how much better they are thanks to the new manager and the things that he's implemented. He also said his expectations have been raised, took them from that 4th tier to the 3rd tier, said a quarterfinal appearance is in the realm of possibility, and who knows what happens from there. Also said that he liked things that they could do with Christian Pulisic out. Well, Team USA plays tonight, and it seems from early reports that Pulisic, at least he said publicly that he's ready to go. So in a game that, in theory, for them moving forward, Johnny, is meaningless. And thanks for allowing the plugs to get in there. But to get to World Cup talk, Christian Pulisic could be playing tonight in a game that otherwise could be meaningless. Is that a concern for you? Any other thoughts on Team USA as we get ready to get cupped up once again here on Brotherly Glove?
Is it a concern if Christian Pulisic plays tonight?
Yeah, are you worried that he could re-aggravate something? Do you just want him to sit out since it's a game that ultimately for the standings doesn't mean anything for Team USA?
No, I would hope that we could trust what their medical people are saying. If he's good enough to play and wants to get out there and do, I doubt they're going to run him into the ground for 90 minutes. So yeah, I think if he's good enough and wants to get out there and get loose, we talked about. Maybe not on here. I know I talked about with some other, certainly trying to read as much as I can, all the smart people out there breaking this stuff down of, they handled Paraguay really nicely. They took care of Australia tonight. Are they going to play their full complement of players in a game that can't change their status or change their standing? I think they wouldn't want to be completely rusty, right? I think you want to go out there and work on things and try some things and get people's blood pumping. But things are lining up really nicely for them. And, I do not want to pretend like I came up with this. I talked to Paul Carr. We were chatting with each other about other stuff. And then we got into some World Cup stuff. And it looks like the way things are lining up for them in the bracket, potentially lining up, or the most likely scenarios, Team USA is looking like it's in a really good spot with their round of 32 opponent and who their round of 16. And I was surprised they're actually favored to reach the round of 16. Like, we know they're in the round of 32 already. And before we knew their opponent, the betting market had them as favorites to reach that round. So, and really short odds to advance to the quarterfinals, which I know is where people kind of thought the ceiling was. I don't know. This is really fun. I have no concerns. They're going to do what's right for the player and right for the team tonight. I'm just my concern is I was hoping to get some rest tonight, and this game's on at 10 o'clock, and I don't want to miss it. So I'm gonna have to find another way to get rest or something, because we're actually going up to we can talk about that maybe at the end. I'm going to the Travelers Championship in Connecticut tomorrow.
Okay.
Go check out some golf once nearby. You know, we're big golf guys on this pod, big golf podcast. We actually, I mean, we went to the PGA Championship. We tossed a lot of golf with Stanford Steve last week, so I would say we're getting up there in the golf pod world. But yeah, man, I was hoping to get some rest tonight, but this game being on at 10 o'clock might make that a moo point.
Yeah, good luck with that. Rest is a thing of the past for us around here. So, so do you have an idea? I didn't have it in front of me. Do you have an idea of what that path looks like for Team USA? I know that the round of 32, it's very likely who they'll be playing, right? It's supposed to be.
It's almost guaranteed. Maybe it changed at the end of last night, but I think it's almost guaranteed to be Bosnia.
Right. Okay.
What I saw last night was they were out of like 330 possibilities, 329 of them would be Bosnia. So whatever 99.9% chance that is, and I didn't take the time to figure out the one scenario that would have them out of 330 permutations that would have a different opponent. So almost guaranteed to be Bosnia, and the Team USA would and should be favored. According to Paul Carr, not on the pod, but he fed me this info this morning. It's looking like Egypt, Belgium, or South Korea in the round of 16. And none of those teams are looking great right now. So it's possible in the betting markets, depending on how they look against Turkey tonight and against Bosnia in the round of 32, that they could end up being favored once we know the matchup in the round of 16 game to reach the quarterfinal too. So this is pretty exciting. And yeah, I haven't looked at to see when and where those games would be, but yeah, man, this is really cool. And like I've said to people we've had on, and I've said out off the podcast, I've said it for a while. I think the World Cup is the best bandwagon sporting event there is, and I can't wait. This is cool.
Yeah, I think there was an outside chance that Algeria could move in based on some late night results yesterday, but a little bit of a tougher stretch, but still U.S. would be favored in that matchup. In the Athletics re-rankings after the week that was, U.S. is now up to 9th in their rankings, so just below that top tier. Most DeBundo told us it was kind of most people have that top 7 all the same, maybe not the same order, but all the same teams. And the U.S. has rocketed up that much. It'll be fun to watch them tonight. To me, it's a World Cup game. It's worth watching, even if the results doesn't change their future. Like you said, great bandwagon sport. So just excited to sit down, excuse me, after a nice community meeting and taking some Team USA World Cup. I haven't been able to watch everything closely like I've wanted to, but it's been great to just have it on in the background while we're playing on the ground with the kids or getting dinner ready or whatever. And just seeing the passion of the fans has been incredible. The Norway row has been, it's everywhere. It was on the subway. It was in the stadium. It's in baseball stadiums. It was incredible. So Johnny, like I said, I haven't been able to watch a ton up close. When Chase has been here, he's been locked in on it. He wants it on. So we've always had it on. How much have you watched so far of the World Cup?
I've watched a bunch, but what I'm more interested in, it's been really fun. It's been really great seeing stuff out in these cities with other teams and people from other countries being here, reading stories, seeing videos. The games have been really fun. Some with crazy weather, and people are out there. It's been awesome. I think we talked about what we're like. We're Messi, Ronaldo fans. Those guys are showing out. The stars are showing out. Mbappe with France. He did it in Philly on Monday, but it's been really fun. I've watched whatever I can, have it on in the background, kind of dig into a game, whatever. But what I'd rather know, you were there at the link on Friday when Brazil played. Like, you were at a World Cup match featuring the Brazilian national team. What was that like?
It was incredible, man. And I was I tried to get in the stands when the national anthems went on because I was like, I just want to hear how these fans react. And I know that Brazil and Haiti have close relationships, so a lot of the fans were intermingling. It wasn't a lot of hatred, a lot of messing with each other beforehand. But like at one point, I was selling beer as a beer vendor, and at one point, you just see what turned out to be like it felt like a second line down in New Orleans, like a group is just walking by playing drums. I don't know how they got them in there. I didn't know you could bring drums in the link. And then everybody just starts jumping in line with them. And it was mostly Brazilian fans, but like a couple of the Haitians who were standing near me, they knew the songs that they were singing and they hopped in and they were like, yeah, the only thing they didn't want them to do was throw their flag up over it because it was mostly Brazilian fans. They didn't care if they jumped in. And man, it was just so much energy. You could tell how happy people were just to be able to watch their team up close. And I got to tell you one thing. Look, I know that the United States, they show a ton of respect during the national anthem, and you'll hear entire stadiums sing that thing calmly and show the respect that it deserves. I've never heard passion like Brazilian fans singing their national anthem before. My goodness, dude. That crowd, like you would have thought it was a Taylor Swift concert. These people were going nuts, like singing, ballad style singing their national anthem. I didn't understand a word of it, but I felt the energy and the emotion that came through when these fans were singing that. And then the Haitians turned around and did the exact same thing, and all the Brazilian fans gave them the respect that they deserved and sat out and let them sing their song. And the presentation was beautiful. I was so excited. I stopped selling beer at one point and just asked someone to take pictures of me with the field behind me. Like it was just an emotional overload of excitement. You know you're going to a World Cup game, and then you don't really know how it's going to feel until you get in the building. And man, was it an experience.
That's awesome. I'm jealous. It's really cool you went down to that. Are you planning on going to any of the other?
I forget who's playing. I'll be there Saturday.
Really? Okay. Yeah, because there's another game today. Curacao, Ivory Coast are playing this afternoon, Thursday afternoon.
Right.
And that would be a cool one. Ivory Coast, everybody. That's a great team to root for. And then Croatia and Ghana. I mean, this seems like really awesome, like fan bases and people to have in town and people to have in the stadium for the games. And we know that on July 4th there's around a 16 game there. So that's cool. I'm glad you're going to another one. I'm insanely jealous. And we've talked before, but we were talking with Sam or Steve about what some of our best moments in sporting events are, and we've gotten to do some really cool stuff over the years. But I don't know, man. This is I don't know if it's once in a lifetime, but it's so. I mean, just the fact that the schedule it's once every 4 years. So it's so less attainable, and especially because it moves all around the globe too, right? Like
right.
It's pretty awesome. I'm glad you're taking advantage of it, and I wish over the next couple of weeks I could figure out a way to get to one somewhere, but it seems unlikely.
Dude, but it's so much fun, and the energy pregame, the energy postgame. So we had an issue checking out as the vendors. We use the internet to finalize all our sales, and obviously everybody's using their phones and everything. So it just took forever to process everything. So I didn't get out of the building until after midnight. And Stateside Live across the street was still bumping. People were going crazy in that whole new outdoor area. I walked through the parking lot to get to my car, not even through Stateside. Like I filmed over the fence to get some vibes, but there were two trucks, a truck and a car pulled up. Just guy with a DJ set plugged into the other guy's car who had an amazing sound system, and there were just people partying in the parking lot at 12:30. There were dudes making street food and just handing it out to strangers as they were walking by. Like it was a different energy than I'm used to. It wasn't getting the stale pretzels at the end of the game. Dudes were making fresh food right there, and they weren't charging you. If you walked up and said, "What's that?" They're like, "Here, take it." It was just an energy unlike anything I've ever seen. Maybe the Thursday night football game for the Eagles to kick off the season this past year, and the NFC Championship game. That's the only time now I know that the tailgates down at Eagles games are great. I haven't been to a lot of them because I'm normally working during the games. But so I don't know what those are like all the time, but it felt very much like people have described those to me taken up a notch because you had that national pride and just people being around their people. It was just, man, awesome experience. And I'm excited to go do it again this weekend.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this run by Team USA. We got the game late tonight. It's cool that there's a couple more games in Philly. Yeah, if we can get more, I don't know. We'll see if there's any more soccer guests and people want to come talk to us with the World Cup. If not, just enjoy it. And the fact that you're going is going to be awesome.
Thanks, man. Well, that almost does it for the Brotherly Glove show today. But we did have something I didn't tease at the top. We have a new segment we wanted to debut. Johnny, this was your idea, so I'm going to let you take it and let's intro the new segment to the people.
It's time for glove. I want to talk about something important here. It's time for glove talk. And when you talk about something important, you have to do it properly. So let's really get into something right here, okay? Like,
what do we got?
Let's take a quick pause. Let's make sure that we are focused on the right things. We're not letting anybody see what we're talking about.
Right.
Because this is important. This is Glove Talk on the Brotherly Glove Pod. Something you kind of mentioned, and I don't want to get into the whatever we're going to call it, hot take space or whatever. I don't follow or listen to people or accounts that traffic in this kind of stuff. But of course, being a Philly sports fan, you're gonna come across things that you're not intentionally seeking out. And of course, I know people have a job to do. I know people like to get things going. I know, look, opinions are fine too, right? Like I'm also don't want to walk around and think everybody has to have the same opinion as me, or you're wrong and doing something wrong. There's a whole lot of things that people maybe there's good points to be made on certain things. If you want to break down things people say to the word and to the letter, I'm sure you can find things that are less enjoyable, or you can parse someone's words and figure out what someone means if you want. But for anybody to think that a guy who came here and won an MVP and is playing like an elite player this season and is driving this team. We talked about the struggles and I'm talking about the Phillies when I say this team. If anybody wants to sit and think that a guy who's been elite and is one of the people carrying this team to the point where they are, we talked about how many people struggled to start the season and where the struggle spots are and things we want them to improve. We've talked about all those, but to go back to our thing at the top, like maybe it's time to flip that conversation and talk like they are doing things well. And there are players doing things really well. There are players doing things at an elite level. And if you're going to get upset about a guy trying to get a triple, and even if the only reason he wanted to get a triple and get to third base was to get a cycle, great. Who cares? But the point, and again, I didn't think about this because this is certainly not the conversation that was happening on Saturday. And it's not the conversation that I was having with anybody I was watching the game with. And when I watched SportsCenter to the game, that's not the thing that anybody on SportsCenter was talking about. And nobody in the media was asking these guys this kind of stuff. And maybe it's because people just had a lot of time to think and they got to work on Monday and had nothing else to say. I don't know how this stuff happens because this doesn't make sense to me. The score of the game was 11-1. He could have ran around the bases 3 times for all I care. Like, what in the world? Honestly, I mean, run the other way. Bat on the other. Go in the other batter's box. Flip your helmet around. Wear the wrong glove. Who cares? They're beating the Mets 11-1, and cycle or not, the guy hustled. The guy I should name him. Bryce Harper busted his ass out of the box, trying to get to third base. Really cool that he got a cycle, especially that he did it in 4 at-bats in the 5th inning. But take all that out. If all you want to do is look at that, and if that specific instance, if that's what riles you up, and that's what tells you something is wrong with that player, if you're watching a baseball game that your team is winning 11-1 and you have a problem with the guy running hard to get an extra base, this is the last I want to talk about it. I can't understand it. Even understanding the industry and even understanding people that want to get engagement and people that want to rile things up. And I know there's certain jobs where your job is to get calls, right?
Right.
Comments, calls, engagement, whatever it is. I mean, the world's changing. I don't think it's the same as it used to be, but I mean, please, if you have this bone in your body, please just pick a different time to like a different player, a different moment to hold up as your holy grail to prove that there's something wrong with this elite player who is carrying this team. That's it.
Look, again, we're not going to name them. I don't want to give them.
I know you didn't see this coming. I'm sorry to surprise you on Glove Talk.
It's okay. It's okay. I don't want to talk too long about this because we're giving people what they want, right? But to quote someone else on that station, I am so effing tired of this conversation. What are we doing? How is this what you take away from that weekend? You know who would have loved to call in if you went nothing but positivity about such an exciting weekend? Someone like me who was there with his father and his son and got to experience a once-in-a-lifetime game. And instead you find the one thing negative that you want to talk about. I know I dropped my glove for glove talk.
It's not even negative. It's a miserable existence. And if you're watching that, and again, regardless of the cycle, if you're watching a game where your team is winning 11-1 and your 3-hole hitter drives one in the gap and tries to get an extra base and you have a problem with that, I don't even think those people should be allowed to watch sports, let alone comment on it. Like I said, it's a miserable existence. And it's also it's so clearly disingenuous that I can't believe it gets any oxygen, despite the fact that I'm talking about it right now. Like, it's so bananas to me. Like, again, I am never going to preach that people have to agree with me for it to be the right or the appropriate opinion. People have opinions. People feel things differently. We talked at the top about how sports makes you feel things, right? If that's what you feel coming off that, you got to pick up a different hobby. This is ludicrous.
Pretty miserable way to watch sports if that's your takeaway when you leave.
So let's get all riled up on the first edition of Glove Talk.
My last thought on it, right? When we watched him as a division rival with the Nationals, every time Bryce Harper did something like that, you thought, man, that's annoying. Wish he was on my team.
Yep.
When it came down to, now this was not my opinion, but when it came down to that summer, or that winter rather, between Bryce Harper and Manny Machado, many people on the station in question said, well, I want Bryce Harper because I know he's going to play hard. That's the guy I want in the building. Even though Manny Machado was the better player, the healthier player, the guy who looked like he would age more gracefully at the time, I admit, if I had to rank now, I wasn't going to complain about either one, but I would prefer Manny Machado over Bryce Harper at that time. That's what I was telling you and Dad in private, right?
Yep.
The reasons you wanted this guy are what he did on Saturday, the boyhood jubilance that he plays the game with, like the hey, I'm just going to work really hard and hope that it pays off, right? And he talked about it afterwards. Like, I'm chasing the ghost of me every time I'm on the field. Everything I've done has been a crazy milestone. So I just gotta reach it. And if that means I play really hard and sometimes I'm going to get thrown out at second base, his double in the game was stretching a single into a double.
Yep.
Like
which was a great play and puts a runner in scoring position. It's just, if you're going to do that, I know that stuff's going to happen from time to time. If you're going to do that, at least do it when it makes sense. Because this is not only a really, just in a vacuum, a really poor example, but to try, if that's your takeaway from all that's happened, especially like this, it wasn't immediate, right? We talked about other stuff that have happened in the last few days. I don't know, man. I don't know how you can keep doing this if that's how you're gonna be about this. And if you're that guy or that girl that does this, just, I don't know, pick a better time, will you?
Yeah, man. It was so obviously disingenuous, and I know that there are some people who wanted to call in after that to yell at them, and that's what they're going for. Yep. But I'll tell you, it makes me much less likely to change the channel to that station. It just does.
I mean, someone can try to convince me they're doing their job, and I'm sure there's some success that came out of it. But, there's a well-known person who also does does their job pretty well that I don't want to say their name. And it's so much in that territory. It's just painful, man. And especially when Philadelphia is putting on such a good show right now, hosting the World Cup. We know the thing that we all kind of the thing that we all hold inside about how Philly fans are talked about. And, I think there's some unity among all of us with the Philly fan, the
national talking point, the cliche,
I can't think of the word, but the way that people talk about Philadelphia fans, the knee-jerk reaction to it.
Right.
I don't know, man.
Whether you feel a responsibility to it or not, when you are someone on a popular television or radio station who represents Philadelphia, whether you feel you should be that person or not, or whether you should feel you should be a reputation or not, you are. And when people hear clips like that, they go, "Oh, typical Philly media, they suck."
It's just, I don't know. I mean, I've been in sports media. You're in sports media. You can say you're doing your job and getting engagement and reaction, which clearly they're getting a reaction out of me. But
right.
I don't know, man. I've seen just because you get a reaction or you get the desired result doesn't mean that you did a good job. I've seen a lot of people do things where there's a result, but they didn't do it well. I just think because something gets out there doesn't mean you should be congratulated. You can do things pretty poorly, and I think this is it's a really good example of that. If you're not celebrating Bryce Harper for what he means to this team right now and what he's meant since he's gotten here, I don't know. Go back and figure it out.
And to repeat, I'm just tired of this effing conversation. That was glove talk.
Yeah, glove talk continues after this this maiden voyage.
Oh, the one segment that we can bring back right before is are we better than Mets? The answer is yes. They answered that this weekend, so that's good. That segment alive and well. At least we're not the Mets. Yeah. But oh man, so nice way to close out two segments, one a repeat segment, one a brand new one. We got to figure out when we're going to have the gloves up and when we're not next time. I think that's the key. But
yeah, well, I mean, I think it was a thing that kind of evolved when people started.
Yeah.
Who gets credit for doing that first? Craig Maddox?
I think so. Yeah.
Now it's funny. I see it. I don't even know what sport, but I see people just doing this like in different sport. Basketball.
Yeah, everybody's just covering their mouth all the time now.
I think it's
especially now that John Boy Media does all those breakdowns. Yeah. You don't want to get picked up saying anything now.
It's a thing that evolves. We'll see how we do with it.
I'm just imagining that this is SportsCenter commercial where they're just holding everything up in front of just talking trash and everything. Either way, that was Glove Talk. This was also an edition of Brotherly Glove. We appreciate you guys listening. Share it with your family and friends if you enjoyed it. Like I said, we enjoy talking about sports, and we're going to be positive and analytical as much as we can. Not here to hate on guys putting their hearts on their sleeves on the field. Johnny, got a big weekend ahead of me going to the World Cup. Anything fun on the way out for the people?
No, I got nothing. Oh, well,
all right.
Other than going up to the golf tournament tomorrow.
That's right. I was going to say, okay, Johnny's not having fun. I am. That's great. No, we're both having fun in different places, some golf, some soccer, stuff you don't always hear on this podcast. But if you do want to hear more, go back and listen to some of the great guests we've had on. Again, Stanford Steve, Paul Carr, and Anthony DeBundo talking golf and World Cup over the last week alone, 2 weeks alone, rather. So go check out those old episodes. We appreciate you. This was 20th episode, 20 fun episodes, and we hope to bring you guys more. So make sure you're subscribing, leaving comments, reviews, and letting us know what your favorite parts are. Check us out on YouTube at Brotherly Glove Podcast, and we will see you next time here on Brotherly Glove.